Alright, so I'm bringing you a deck profile of my wind-up deck for the upcoming format. Um, I made this deck based off of my results at YCS Chicago. Um, Considering that the format is going to stay relatively the same up until Primal Origins is released, I figured I wouldn't have to make any changes to my deck at all. So I'll just jump right into it. I'm running the one magician, three shark, three rat, three rabbit, and one warrior. Not any good reason to run anything else besides those 11. Uh, yeah, I've seen people run more warrior or not even run warrior, and that's both of those are bad in my opinion. Warrior is too good with rat. Making rat rank 3 or a rank 4 play is really good. Um, and that's actually better than having warrior available for invoker. I mainly use invoker as a way to pull warrior from the deck, so I have it in the grave for rat, and then you get to use the warrior you pulled from your deck for either a rank 4 or a rank 5. So it's a good play to have. Um, and then you don't want to draw more warriors because you only need one in the grave for your rats. So you don't want to run more than one. And then I'm running 2 tour guide and 1 Thunder King. Um, so I'm not running very many monsters. I don't really want very many monsters. I would rather have spells and traps, particularly traps. Um, Especially because with Factory you end up searching a lot of your monsters, so you have a monster heavy hand. So you want to be drawing mostly trap cards in particular after you filled up your hand with all your windups. I'm running 2 tour guide because I don't want to have any dead draws. I'm trying to minimize dead draws. Um, and if you run target for the tour guide, like a Knight Assailant or a Tour Bus, it's not, in my opinion, it's not a good enough card, and you'll end up drawing it a few games instead of pulling it from your deck with tour guide, and I don't want to do that. And if I'm running 3 tour guide without a target, then I'll dead draw the third one sometimes. So the only problem with 2 is if you happen to draw both of them, which happens very rarely, but it does happen. And sometimes they'll negate it with like a Fiendish Chain. But then as long as you don't draw the second one later, you manage to bait out a trap, which is pretty good usually. And then Thunder King is just really good at the moment. Um, you run this in pretty much any deck that you can run a Thunder King in. So as long as it's not like spellbooks or something. Um, you only search cards are Duality and Factory. So you just have to make sure you activate them before you summon Thunder King, basically. And then onto the spells, I'm running 2 Duality. 2 because it's a good card to have, but I don't want to have doubles. If you have doubles, you have to wait a turn to activate the second one, and then you're slowing your deck down too much. 1 Dark Hole, it's a good card. It's good against Girgia especially, which is going to be a big deck next format, I think. So it's also good against Mermails, just because it's the best out to Abyss Gaios, which is good against wind-up decks. Book of Moon is a good card. It's one of the best traps, basically. I consider this a trap rather than a spell, just because that's how it functions. You can activate this on summon, and it does lots of nifty things. And then 3 MST. MST is really good. There's too many good continuous cards that you need to hit, especially if you're going up against Boojins. You want to hit their Kaiser Coliseums. 3 Factory is the best card in the deck. You want to run 3. Drawing multiples is good. You pretty much just win when you draw more than one. 2 Messenger apiece. This is a new card that I'm trying out, so I haven't really tested it yet. I'm testing this based off of Timothy Bailey's suggestion. And also, I wouldn't normally just play a card just because somebody says it's good. It makes sense that this would be good. A lot of times when I had problems with my deck, it was because I had to make awkward plays to stop my opponent from attacking me. Whether that would be like summon a rabbit and then special summon a shark to make a rank 3, or something bad like that, just because I would lose otherwise. Messenger Piece solves that. It lets you buy time until you draw factory plus wind up monsters, and then you can go off. Also worth noting that Rabbit can attack under Messenger Piece. For my last deck, I cut out the Tenki engine to make space for this. I used to run 2 Tenkis and 1 Bear. I don't think that there's enough room in the back row to run Factory, Messenger Piece, Fiendish Chain, and Tenki, which are all continuous cards. You'd run out of room too quickly. And also, Tenki makes Rabbit 1500, so you can't attack under this anymore. So I liked the Tenki engine, but I'm trying this out, and I've played a few games so far, and I've liked the results so far. And then onto the traps. I'm running one of each of the one-offs. They're just really good traps. There's not many alternative options. They're all good, particularly just because you can activate them on the summon of the monster before the monster destroys you with its effect. And then 3 Fiendish Chain. Fiendish Chain is better than Breakthrough Skill or Veiler because sometimes the deck has difficulty getting monsters off the field. So the fact that it's a lasting effect negation over multiple turns is useful, even if it's easier to play around. And then 1 Mirror Force, 2 Dimensional Prisons, 3 Battle Traps, in my opinion, is the right amount. If you don't want more or less, because at 3 you draw it the right amount of times. And in my opinion, Dimensional Prison is better right now than Mirror Force, mostly because of Bujinji Hair is a significant card at the moment, and this gets around it, but this doesn't. And then 2 Mind Crush. This is another change that I'm making to my deck. Mind Crush I cited previously, but it was just too good at the YCS. It hit every deck. So the only deck that I didn't cite in against was Lightsworns. So just because so many decks are searching right now, this is a really good trap at the moment. And also, I felt like the deck needed more traps going into the tournament, and I feel like Mind Crush fills that role pretty nicely. Then 2 trap stuns. If you would go for a big play, you can negate all the traps, and then your opponent can't stop you unless they have hand traps or Book of Moon. And even if you don't have a big play for your trap stun, you can use it as a 1-for-1 to make sure play goes off to just negate one of their traps. So it's a nice card to have. It works well with Messenger Piece because your opponent gets lots of traps added to their field because they're sitting there and they can't do anything with Messenger Piece up. So this will negate all of them. And then side deck, Max C for spammy decks like Hieratics and stuff like that. Infirmities, that's a big one. Effect Veiler, because I want to have a hand trap that I can draw into with Max C that'll do something to stop my opponent from going off. I don't like siding either of these if I'm going first, really, unless it's particularly good against that matchup. Like Effect Veiler is particularly good against spellbooks because you can hit the spellbook Magician of Prophecy. Twister, this is there for Royal Decree in Bujins. Basically, that's the only reason it's there. Twister is not as good as Dust Tornado, except against Royal Decree. It's better against Decree is the only thing. And then 1 Dimensional Fissure and 1 Soul Drain for graveyard decks like Vermeil's. And no macro. Macro negatively impacts Rat, but these don't do anything to the deck. 2 Black Hornet of Heaven. This is a really good trap against certain decks. It's not as effective against like Bujins, for example. They just summon Yamato. But against certain decks, this is one of the best traps that there is. So you want to be able to side it in against those. This goes in against a lot of different decks. Overworked is mostly for Fire Fist, but it also works against decks like Insectors and Gravekeepers. Anything that has attack boosts. Hornet boosts up their attack by 500. So Light Imprisoning Mirror for light decks, a lot of which can cause problems for windups. There's Bujins and Constellars, and then it also hits Hieratics and Lightsworn So it hits a lot of decks that it hits. The third Mind Crush for decks that it's good against, and then Mirror Force if I want to side out the prison for Mirror Force, I can do that. This is mostly filler because I haven't decided what I want to put in the side deck yet, because the format hasn't really started yet. So this might stay in depending on how it does, but this could easily be taken out for something better. And then one Dust Tornado because it's an extra MST. So that's always good to have. The extra deck, this is almost the same as it was before, a little bit different. Running one Invoker, one Zen Mains, one Levier, one Engineer, and 2 Alucard and 1 Acid Golem for my rank 3s. Invoker and Levier are there for swarming plays, and they're needed for some of the OTKs that the deck has. This also pulls the Warrior from your deck, as I was saying earlier. Zen Mains is good because you can target any card your opponent has and destroy it. That's a useful effect to have. There aren't any other rank 3s that can do that. And then Engineer is probably the best all-around rank 3. It's good at stalling. Alucard I bumped up to 2 because I wanted to have the option to make 2 against Girgia in particular, because I don't have the Tenki Bear engine anymore. Alucard is one of the most frequently used just because you use him to take out back row if you're about to make a push. And then Acid Golem is really important. Sometimes you just need 3000 attack. The other day I beat a Herald of Perfection player just because I had the Acid Golem. For the rank 4s, you've got 1 Papal Operative, 1 Silent Honor Arc, 1 Diamond Direwolf, 2 Abyss Dwellers. That's it for the rank 4s. So that means I cut a Cowboy. Cowboy just wasn't as useful usually as the other monsters in the extra deck. Papal Operative you need for some of the OTK plays for swarming. Silent Honor Arc is just the best Exceed monster at the moment, like in general, is really good. Direwolf is particularly good in the deck because with Rabbit you can pop 2 cards for free with him. And then Abyss Dweller is really good in certain matchups like Mermails. So it's playing 2 basically is like siding against them right from game 1. And then rank 5s, 1 Volcasaurus, 1 Tyrus, and 1 Gaia Dragon. The Volcasaurus Gaia Chargers going for massive damage. You can go over like 5,000 pretty easily. It's a big part of one of the OTKs. And then Tyrus is really good if your opponent has back row. You can take out their monsters and then take out their traps. And if they don't have a prison or compulse or something along those lines, then they can't stop Tyrus. With that extra deck, I used to feel like since the space was so tight, it didn't make sense to run doubles of anything. But now I'm feeling like there's only 13 monsters that I actually want to use, and when I put other monsters into the extra deck, I just end up not summoning them. So I would rather run doubles and potentially summon 2 of the same monster in one game. Most of this deck I've tested already. The new changes, the Messenger piece in Mind Crush, have not been really tested yet, at least not in the main. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to be posting some videos of this new build in action pretty soon, and I'm also planning on working on a video where I show a few of the basic combo plays that can do. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to check out some of my other stuff. I'll have links up at the end.